So you guys might have noticed us talking about a bunch of PlayStation stores that have been running this week, and right now, while there isn't one collective gigantic sale going on, if you look at all the games that are being discounted, there are literally hundreds of great games being significantly discounted, and that's what we're gonna look at in this video. Actually, we're gonna try to change things up a little bit as we're gonna be taking a look at 15 PlayStation 4 games under $5. Now, we're gonna cover 10 standard PlayStation 4 games, and then I also want to take a look at 5 great deals on PlayStation VR titles. We'll cover the basic PlayStation 4 titles first because I know that's what most of you guys are interested in, but stick around to the end of this video and we will cover the VR games as well. With that being said, let's get right into this, and first up we have Until Dawn, which is 75% off for $4.99. Until Dawn was a game done by Supermassive Games, released back in 2015, and this was one of the more surprising PlayStation 4 exclusives. Honestly, going into the release of this game, I just saw it as such a wacky game and I thought it was gonna flop pretty hard, but it turned out to be a pretty quirky horror game in the vein of a Quantic Dream title where there isn't a lot of gameplay but a lot of decision making, and if you're into cheesy horror movies, you're gonna love Until Dawn, and at just $4.99, it's a great pickup. There was some criticism with the game because it doesn't have a ton of content, and back in 2015 it was released at a full $59.99, but now for $5 it's definitely worth a buy. Next up, we have a very unique game that was put out by Electronic Arts earlier this year, and that is Feor Fee. Right now, it's 75% off, down to $4.99, which is pretty surprising considering this game, again, just released back in February. Released at $19.99, and it's a very artistic platformer, and while I wouldn't say it's absolutely perfect, I really have to sometimes give EA credit. While they're one of the most hated on publishers in the world, sometimes they do put out great games like A Way Out and Fee. If you want a very artistic platformer, definitely give this one a look, and at just $5, again, a really good buy. Next up, we have what many consider to be the best PlayStation 4 launch title, and that is Resogun. It is 80% off, down to just $2.99. Resogun was done by Housemarque, a Finnish studio that I have always gone to bat for until recently, because now they're going the Battle Royale route, and that really depresses me because they put out fantastic games like Resogun. Resogun is a very stylish shoot-'em-up with some great music, fantastic presentation, and if you just want a quality shoot-'em-up, this is an absolute buy, and at just $2.99, this is one of the best deals you're gonna find on the PlayStation Store. I would say it's worth its full price of $14.99, but $3 is a no-brainer. Speaking of Housemarque, they've got another one of their great games discounted. Alienation is 80% off, down to $3.99. Alienation, just like other Housemarque games, is a very stylish game, but this one is a top-down cooperative shooter that is a ton of fun. It's your typical isometric twin-stick shooter, and it's set in a future where aliens are invading Earth. If you're a fan of twin-stick shooters or you like some of Housemarque's other properties, again, Alienation is going to be right up your alley, and at $3.99, another great pickup. If you've yet to play Resogun or Alienation, I would say get both of them. They really do those arcade-style experiences justice, and it's such a shame to see that now Housemarque is working on a Battle Royale title. Hopefully that turns out alright, and then they can get back to what they do best. These games are great. Just mentioned how Resogun was one of the best PlayStation 4 launch titles, but without a doubt, what was the most anticipated PlayStation 4 launch title was Killzone Shadowfall, and now that is 80% off, down to $3.99. Now, Killzone Shadowfall is a game that I can go on for a long time about. Killzone is one of my favorite PlayStation franchises. I played the hell out of Killzone 2 and Killzone 3. I'll be real with you guys, I was not as big of a fan of Killzone Shadowfall as I was the other titles, but it's still a rather good game, especially if you judge it from its single-player campaign. The single-player campaign is very, very good. I thought they did a really good job with that, and even now in 2018, bear in mind this released all the way back in 2013, launch day of the PS4, it still holds up from a technical standpoint. This is a game that absolutely blew me away from a technical standpoint, really did the PlayStation 4 justice on that end, and again, the campaign is rather good. The multiplayer, that left a lot to be desired, and I didn't find it to be as engaging of an experience as KZ2 and KZ3. Still, now that it's down to $3.99, it's a PlayStation exclusive. It's a game I think people should play, and for the price, it's a solid pickup. Moving on from that, we've got Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2 Standard Edition, 80% off, down to $3.99. Plants vs. Zombies is a pretty quirky IP. You guys know how it originated and gained popularity on phones, but to see it translated into a multiplayer shooter, that is something I would never think would be done well. But then we had Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare, and that's exactly what we got. An awesome quirky shooter in the Plants vs. Zombies vein, and then we had Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2, which made the game a lot better. It has 24-player multiplayer, 4-player co-op modes. You can play solo, you can play split screen, just a very charming shooter that anyone can pick up and play. Maybe for the full price, I could could see why you might be pushed away, but $3.99 for Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2, that's a great deal. Next up, we have Mirror's Edge Catalyst, which is 75% off for $4.99. Another one of my highly anticipated games of this generation that left me a little bit disappointed, but I still have to say, Mirror's Edge Catalyst had a lot of positives going for it. Of course, it was the follow-up to 2008's Mirror's Edge, so anticipation for me just on the basis of that was pretty high. However, Catalyst faltered in some areas, but what you're gonna get is that quality parkour gameplay. The visuals are great. The real issues come from the storytelling. I didn't think that was very good. I do think that Mirror's Edge is a franchise that's better as a contained experience rather than being more open. I think this was one of the games that going for a more open design detracted from the game rather than enhancing it, and that's what we saw a lot this generation. Some games were enhanced by open design, but some games were detracted. I think Mirror's Edge Catalyst was one of those games that hindered. Still at $4.99 at that price, I would give Catalyst a look. Next up, we have another PlayStation 4 launch title in Need for Speed Rivals. Need for Speed is a franchise that has such a negative stigma attached to it, so even though Rivals is a great game, I feel like it's a little bit of a hard sell. Bear in mind that Rivals was a launch title prior to games like Need for Speed Payback, which just weren't very good. Need for Speed Rivals reminds me a lot of Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, which in my opinion is the best Need for Speed game ever. I don't think Rivals is quite as good as that game, but I still think it's very good, and if you want a high-octane arcade racer, Rivals will definitely have you covered, and at $4.99 worth a buy. Next up, we have the Order 1886, 80% off down to $3.99. Man, this was probably the most controversial PlayStation 4 exclusive release this generation, but I feel like since the release of Order 1886, gamers have gone back and played it and think much more fondly of it, probably because they didn't buy it at launch and they didn't drop $59.99 on it. That was the real issue with the Order 1886. Fundamentally, this game has a lot of strong qualities going on for it. The issue is there's not a lot of content there, there's not a lot of replayability. You can literally complete it in under 4 hours, and for a $59.99 release, I'm sorry, that just isn't gonna fly, but for a $3.99 buy, hey, what you're gonna get with the Order 1886 is some incredible visuals. You can make an argument this is still the best looking PlayStation 4 game to date, and has a really cool setting, and there's so much potential for a future entry. I don't know if we're ever gonna get that, I doubt it. But I don't think it's a bad idea to go back and play this game. It was received so poorly when it was released, but going back, every time I hear somebody that goes back and plays the Order 1886, the reception of the game is rather positive, and that's probably because they're paying a very cheap price for it. Again, it's $3.99 right now, and if you never checked out the game, I would give it a look. Next up, we have one of the best received PlayStation 3 games of all time that was ported over to the PlayStation 4, and that is Journey. It is 70% off for $4.49. Journey was a game done by that game company who also did Flower, a very artistic game, and Journey is another game like that where it's super artistic. It's not like this is a game with a ton of intricate gameplay to it, but what it nails is game design and how it really captivates you and absorbs you into this world and experience. Journey is an experience. I wouldn't call it a game. It is an experience that is rather short but pretty breathtaking by the end. Presentation from the visuals and music is top notch, and if you never played Journey, you should really remedy that, and at $4.49, definitely a good pickup. Okay, so wrapping up with Journey, those are the 10 PlayStation 4 games under $10, your standard PS4 games. Also want to give a mention quickly to some PSVR games, because I know I've been going on about that, and there are some great deals available on those titles as well. First up, we have PlayStation VR Worlds, which is 70% off for $4.49. This is more of a bunch of different demos, but it offers unique experiences for everyone. There's a lot of different experiences, and if you just pick up PlayStation VR, I feel like PSVR Worlds is something you have to pick up because it really utilizes PSVR well. It features 5 high-quality VR experiences, so they're rather short, but they were created very well. Showcases a lot of the diversity and what you can expect out of PSVR, and gives you an idea of the limitless potential with PlayStation VR. It's available for $4.49. I would say it's a good pickup at that standard price. Is $14.99, that's a bit pricey, but at $4.50, I would say it's quality. Next up, we have Super Stardust Ultra VR, which is 75% off down to $4.99. Now, I was a big fan of Super Stardust HD, which was released on the PlayStation 3, and Super Stardust Ultra VR kind of takes that experience, but puts you in the cockpit, and you're battling alien invaders face to face. Pretty immersive, and at this price, I would give it a look. Next up, we have arguably the best PSVR launch title, and that is Riggs Mechanized Combat League, 75% off for $4.99. Recently talked about this game when I looked at some of the best PSVR games. Riggs is a great multiplayer experience that was received very well when it released. I do think some games have lapped it since its release, like Firewall Zero Hour. However, Riggs does feature a different take on multiplayer gameplay, and you've got different suits you can utilize, and it's an interesting multiplayer experience that still has a somewhat lively community, so check it out. $4.99 is a good buy on that. Next up, we have Psychonauts in the Rhombus of Ruin. That's 80% off for $3.99. This is a legitimate follow-up to 2005 Psychonauts. It picks up exactly where that game left off. It's not a gigantic experience, but Psychonauts is such a well-regarded game that seeing it in VR is great. Of course, it does look like Psychonauts 2 will be happening, so why not check out Psychonauts in the Rhombus of Ruin, especially at this price. And lastly, Drive Club VR is 75% off for $3.74. Now, this isn't the entire Drive Club experience translated to VR. However, it does feature over 80 cars on more than 100 tracks you can play and create driving challenges. Gran Turismo Sport is still rather pricey, so if you want a quality racing game experience in VR, I would say Drive Club VR is a good buy if you're looking for that fix at a cheap price. And that's gonna conclude this video. Again, so many great deals over at the PlayStation Store right now. There are a few games that were just over that $5 mark, so I didn't mention them. They were around $5.99. But yeah, I would take advantage of all of the deals going on right now, because only today I went on the PlayStation Store and I thought, man, this is actually a legit gigantic sale going on, and it's not really being promoted as such. So I think some people will miss out on it, but hopefully you guys can take advantage and get some great deals. That's gonna conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.